Welcome to this episode of the Aligned Founder Podcast. I'm joined by my co-host Rene. How are you doing today?
Great. Looking forward to the recordings.
We have a very interesting topic today, which is this topic of flatness or numbness. And this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs that turn up on our doorstep mention or talk about. Some are aware of it, some list the symptoms of it. And we really want to shed some light to, if you're someone who feels like maybe the spectrum of emotions and feelings that you used to have from life, that you're not really experiencing anymore, that life is just kind of happening and everything just kind of feels the same or feels flat, then we want to maybe explain a bit more of what's underneath that in this episode and maybe give you a bit of a roadmap of how you can get back to that full spectrum feeling and joy and fulfillment in your life. So I think a really good way to do that would be for you to tell a bit of your story of your experience of this, Rene.
Yeah. So, first of all, I think many people are not actually aware that life has become flat and that it's not as exciting as it used to be because it's just normal. We don't think about it. But in conversations with clients, it comes up over and over again, particularly because I'm aware of it now, that it's like that for many people. So I'm poking there a little bit, and it's almost everybody who can resonate, at least to a degree, with this. And so my story around it, I mean, many of our clients have kind of reached some level of financial freedom, which is for many people the definition of, when I have financial freedom, then I'll be happy. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was a little bit different, but the theory behind it is the same. For me, I was financially okay to travel all year round, doing what I want, not on a luxury level maybe, but I was basically living dream.
Living on holiday 365 days a year.
Yeah, like traveling, where I'm going to go next, spending the winter in Mexico, spending it in Thailand, Australia, wherever I want basically, because I could work online even before the digital nomad bubble, and that now it's completely normal. But for me, it was like that before. And also I didn't have to work many hours a day, so I had lots of time to do what I want. And so many people kept telling me, oh my God, like, you have it so good, you're so lucky, the dream. And for a long time, I did enjoy that. And I think it's the same with entrepreneurs. When the first, big amounts of money are coming in, the business growing, it's exciting, it's great, and it makes you actually feel good. But then there was a time on both of our favorite islands, Koh Tao, I think. I remember that very...
In Thailand, yeah.
Thailand, yeah, I remember very vividly because this was, I think, 2 months I spent in Thailand. And basically, I was there, the weather was perfect. I met nice people every day. I ate great food. I did Muay Thai. I went to yoga. I partied sometimes. Whatever I wanted to do, I did. But it became less and less fun. I started to grow more and more frustration. Even though posting on Instagram what I'm up to, everybody like, oh my God, looks amazing, blah, blah, blah.
Telling you again, you got the great life.
Telling me I got the great life, and I started to feel more and more flat, and it seemed like nothing was good enough to make me feel anything anymore. And life was too good for too long, and I couldn't appreciate any of it anymore. Mm-hmm. So that made me then kind of fall into a hole, because all of the things that I've created for myself that I thought are the perfect life suddenly didn't make me feel good. So where else should I go now? It was really scary, because I thought that's already the best life I can live, and I'm not enjoying it anymore. So where to go? I felt pretty lost in that moment. So.
And I think there's an even more of a dissonance when the people around you are confirming that you're living the dream. Yeah. But it feels like shit. And there's even more maybe self-questioning, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't this work anymore? So there's the practical element of I've invested all my time chasing this dream for this outcome, and I'm actually here now and I feel kind of numb and flat and it's not really doing anything for me. Mixed then with everyone else telling you about how happy you should be. Yeah. And there's kind of a shaming of what's wrong with me nearly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So what happened then?
What happened?
That's when it all began.
Yeah, what happened then? I don't actually know exactly what happened, but this was really, I fell almost like into a week of depression. I never knew what that felt like, but I didn't want to eat. I had this feeling in my body, really heavy, and also felt a little bit lonely because I was kind of doing this on my own, and the new connections you can make every day, I didn't want to make them anymore either, because like, hey, where are you from?
Yeah.
How long? Where are you traveling next? Like, always the same. So
the surface level kind of,
Yeah, so that just pushed me or gave me a kick in the ass to, all right, like what else is there? I could just accept it and feel shit every day, or I can actually start to do something about it. And I mean, we have another podcast around psychedelics and breathwork and therapy. And for me, I think the first outlet was psychedelics, which was good. It did help me. But then really just continued the path and landed at the main event. Conscious Connected Breathwork, which was
totally.
what we're doing now. So, yeah.
The rest is history. For me, a pretty similar setup of like this chasing of this ultimate life, the freedom. Like the correlation I can draw with a lot of the clients that we meet today and the people that we meet is like, this, depending on our upbringing, depending on the choice points and the options we have available, like given to us. I think what I hear about many like founders and entrepreneurs, they believe that I don't want to work for someone. So if I create my own company, then I'll have the freedom eventually. You know, short term, I won't have a boss. Long term, I'll have fuck you money kind of thing. So I think pretty similar gig for me. I'm a musician. Everyone told me, you're never going to do that. You're never going to make any money from it. Just give up. Just get a normal job. So for me, the ultimate middle finger was to go and to get paid a pretty good amount of money and get everything, all my travel, all my accommodation, my food, my drinks, everything covered all the time to go and just do that. And that was the ultimate life. I couldn't think of a better life, because I was getting to do what I really loved to do. And I was living on holidays again, 12 months a year. And there was this dance between so many peak moments and peak experiences. And at a certain point, the novelty of them did start to wear off. Another party, another new location, as you said, more surface level, transient relationships and connections. And just then feeling like the downsides of living this lifestyle as well, of pushing myself all the time, really driving and living in this fight or flight state and go. And then really my body kind of crashing at a certain point. And that was the numbness for me really was this dance between needing to keep going to maintain this lifestyle I'd created, which was not just my source of income, but my source of status. I'd now created this identity for myself as this amazing guy who travels and plays music. Everyone knows me in these places. And then if I don't go there anymore, or if I don't party anymore, then who am I?
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of entrepreneurs and founders, they've maybe built a company, built a culture and their lives around being this person. And originally because of the outcomes it would bring them, but at a certain point then because of that's just the way things are going and they're just in a routine. And then I feel that over time, what they want from life and what really matters and what's important to them starts to shift. But I think that's one thing we can both relate to is that there's a bit of a lag time.
Yeah, because you don't know the alternative, because this is what I believed all my life to be. If I have that, then life will be perfect. Entrepreneur, if I have financial freedom, if I have the power, if I have this position, then I'll be happy. And then only to experience it's not that, and then, but what else is it then?
Yeah.
There's not an easy answer laying there. So
and it's almost like the death of the promise. The promise of when you do that, then you'll have that.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that we've both got to experience.
And also I think it's still, and it will always be a belief in society. People who don't have the money or the freedom or the life they want, they will always believe, okay, rich people will say money doesn't make happy. It's easy for them to say, but they still believe for them it will make all the difference. Yeah. And one guy once said, you first need to experience having a lot of money to believe that it actually is not the cure. And I mean, also, let's be honest, it's still great to have money, and everybody still says, okay, of course it's nice to have this freedom and not having, I think it's more like, rather than making you happy, it takes away the downs, it takes away the worries, which is also already great, but it's enough to be flat, but it's not enough to be fulfilled.
Yeah, you can afford a therapist kind of thing.
That's well, yeah.
Yeah, and there's this idea of whatever made us happy when we were younger, we might believe that that will continue for the rest of our lives, but there's a natural growth in who we are. And I think achieving a certain level of success means that we kind of unlock the next level, and we can't just maintain and continue for 30 years the same thing.
I think it's also a blind spot with many people. If I'm going back to my hometown, for example, a lot of people that I went to school with would still do the very same thing. And there's no judgment there. Like, some people like to, you know, stay in the hometown and whatever. It wasn't my journey, but it's maybe theirs. However, I think the blind spot is that we evolve as humans, and naturally we will start to enjoy, like, and care about different things. For example, when we started the travel business in 2012, we were one of the first companies who created really high-level, amazing movies about this travel destination, with emotion, with great music, great edits, 6 minutes long. And back at this time, this was new. And people were going, like, they loved it, and they would watch the whole movie, and they would comment, and they were waiting for next year's movie to come out. It was this big thing. Now, 10 years later, the youth, the attention span, the sheer amount of content has changed so much. If we would have still made 6-minute videos, maybe 2% of people would have watched the 6 minutes, because so the landscape has completely changed and evolved. So we had to react to it, otherwise it wouldn't have worked. And the same as humans. We're not going to be the same in 10 years. So if we still live the same life, do the same things, do the things that made us happier we liked 10 years ago, well, most likely it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So
So coming back to this idea of flatness or numbness. So we've been chasing this outcome, and at a certain point we realize that it's not doing it for us anymore. And there's this feeling of just a lack of this fulfillment or happiness that maybe we once felt, or that maybe we believed we would feel. And we can kind of barometer or like measure the amount of like how deep into this we are by the amount of what I like to call like the fuck yes moments. So how many moments, how many days, or how many minutes in your life are you really standing there going, yes, this is a great moment, I feel alive, I feel great. How many times are you experiencing that? And if you can't remember the last time you experienced that, then there's probably a good chance that you're experiencing some degree of this flat line where the emotions have faded. And that's kind of good, because there's no highs, but there's also no lows. There's a certain protection mechanism in that. So let's talk a bit about like, why do people get into this, this flatness where they just don't feel anything anymore?
yeah, my theory is that when we are younger, we don't really think about tomorrow. We also don't have the same expectation towards
Or
ourselves.
responsibility.
Responsibility, yeah, like you're 20 years old, you partying the whole weekend, and you maybe are not fully present in university on Monday. Who cares? All the others are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
If you're 35 and you have a family to look after, like
Employees.
a lot of things, it's not that simple anymore. You need to think about tomorrow in a way. And yeah, so I think this is one of the things. And I had a very good example of, I talked with a client last weekend about this topic, and I also asked her, when was the last time that you really felt like this fuck yes moment, this excitement that maybe you felt as a teenager or as a child? And she didn't know the answer at first, like she couldn't even remember. It was like, wow, I don't think I can remember, it's pretty flat. And then she said, you know what, actually I feel it when I was surfing and when I'm catching this big wave. And I felt like, oh my God, wow, in this moment. And it makes sense, because you need to be fully focused in that moment. It's somewhat not dangerous, but you need to be right there. You don't have capacity to think about what's tomorrow. You don't have capacity to think about your past relationship that hurt you. You're just there in the moment, and that gives you the capacity to actually be there and enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
And also then I was thinking, and we kept talking, why are children so happy? Why is my little dog always super excited just when a butterfly flies past? Because in the moment, they don't think about tomorrow and about yesterday. And having this capability to just be here right now, alone already lets us feel much more. And then within the breathwork session we had, she said, wow, okay, this was the first time in I don't know how long since I can remember that I felt everything is going to be okay. And I had this feeling of bliss inside of me that I didn't know I have available to me anymore. And this is like a kickstart of, okay, there is hope for me. I actually can. It's just that I don't because of my outer life circumstances.
Yeah.
I've blocked it out, but it's still there. And that gave a lot of hope and resulted, in a really great conversation and session.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like a big part of, like you said, like changing that is first becoming aware of that, like finding the awareness. So, because we don't know what we don't know until we experience a big burst of emotion again and a feeling of like this real high, we kind of forgot that it's there. Now, yeah, I agree what you said. I think that a lot of people, because of these fears or responsibilities, they learn to block them out. They learn to block out the bad stuff so they can focus on what they believe is important. However, in doing that, you don't get to, only have dessert and not eat your vegetables, We kind of have to feel a bit of pain to get the pleasure. Yeah. So if we're blocking out the quote unquote negative emotions, then we don't get the positive ones. So it's the full spectrum. Now, what I've found is that, of course, it's not really, normal or typical to just be in the supermarket and start crying on the floor. Of course, it's good to have a degree of composure in those situations and responding appropriately. Like if there's a stressful situation at work, we want to be able to manage that and not just collapse. That's not what I'm suggesting, to go feel all your negative emotions, but I'm saying in an intentional way, there's a way that we can go back and to kind of feel and remove and let go of some of those quote unquote heavier or negative feelings that are the things blocking us from feeling the positive emotions. And imagine that's something similar to what your client experienced, where it's this like tapping into something deeper, almost like a memory of what is there. And then now that that's alive again, we can tap into that on a daily basis. It's like, we've dug deep and found the seed, and now we can use that for energy on the daily. And like, as you said, it brings that hope back that's available. Yeah.
And I think we're blocking it out, like the things we're afraid of, because our system perceives it as we cannot handle this. We're going to die. We just can't go there. So it seems natural to having to block that out. But like, this is just a perceived outcome. It's not reality. And again, like in such sessions, we can go into, fear or deep sadness. But then the way we structure it in the relaxation in the end, you come out 20 minutes later, feeling perfectly fine, teaching yourself, teaching your system, hey, actually, I can go into my deepest fear and I will be okay. So doing that a couple of times, we will then think in life as well, oh, I really don't like this situation, or I'm afraid to do this, but I can, because I'm going to be okay afterwards. Yeah. And just being reminded of, the fears are there, but still going through life with open arms, basically. Yeah. Being like not shying those emotions and not enjoying them. Maybe you still not enjoy shitty situations or fearful situations, but you just know it's going to be okay. And that opens up the spectrum to the upside as well again. And like the way I see it now, if something bad happens to me, it's at the same time helps me to appreciate the good. So
that concept of like knowing that everything's going to be okay, there's an example I love to use, which is imagine you've just won tickets to go on a 5-star luxury cruise for 1 week. You go to this amazing location, you're on this boat, and there's all these amazing restaurants and entertainment, and you visit all these amazing islands, maybe in the Caribbean, and it's just like this amazing experience, and you've won these tickets, but you don't know how to swim. And so actually, instead of thinking forward to this experience about how you're going to enjoy it and how great it's going to be, all you can think about is, I don't want to go, because what if I fell overboard? I wouldn't swim and then I could die. So actually, instead of enjoying that experience, or you might not even go in the experience, you might give away the tickets because you're so scared of what could happen, because you don't have the tools to swim. You don't have the ability to swim. Same goes for any situation in life that we are unconsciously, not even consciously, but deep down fearful of. If we believe that, oh, I can't go there because it's going to overwhelm me, it's going to be too much, I don't have the ability to go there, then we will avoid those situations. So we'll not have the conversation that's important. We'll not take that decision for the business or whatever that needs to happen because we're unconsciously avoiding the outcome. However, if we go deeper and we just basically take some swimming lessons, or in this case, we learn to feel and process those deeper emotions, then we can actually go on the cruise and we can really be fully present and enjoy it because we know that whatever comes up, even if we fall overboard, we're going to be fine. And the same goes if we have tools to process these deeper feelings that are causing this flatness and numbness, then it means that when life throws stuff at us, which it will, we know deep down, like we have this inner confidence and like feeling that hey, I got this, I can do this. Yeah. And that opens so many doors that we might have been unconsciously closing without realizing, which is super powerful.
Yeah, totally. And funny example for me, I mean, you know, in Bali, when I did the breathwork training, I was called like the hard nut to crack. It took me like, while everybody was going through all sorts of emotions already on this first, second, third session, I think for me, session 15 was where really the dams broke, and I was probably crying for 20 minutes straight. And then after the next day, when I was driving on my bike in Bali, I literally saw the colors more colorful, and I was like, wow. And I noticed the little things again, and just felt again so much more. And then coming back to the city in Berlin as well, when I was walking to the gym in the morning with my music, I was like just looking around myself, and I felt just amazing for no reason. Just walking there. And then the thing that I found pretty hilarious was me in Bali have such a wall built up to feel these deeper emotions and really taking that long to break through. There was like, I think, 2 months break until you came to Europe. Mm-hmm. And then we were laying down actually in this apartment doing a session, and you just started the intro, and I was breathing for maybe 30 seconds and I already started the tears coming. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't start crying because I had to laugh so much about the joke that it could take like hours and hours to even something. And then once this was open, I was just immediately having it accessible to me. And it doesn't mean that I now walk around crying with every little thing that I find nice or sad. Not at all, but it's just in having access to it if I want it.
Yeah. So. And I think that's a super important point, because without getting too esoterical on things, we kind of like the moment that you're living right now is the moment, like, and you're not going to have it again. And the degree to which you can experience that moment, like everything's already there. Like all the love you're seeking, all the beauty around you is already there. And it just takes us opening our field of awareness, moving out of this fight or flight state and into a state of, just being able to really fully experience everything. It's like you've been wearing like very dark sunglasses for your whole life and then taking them off for the first time. Mm-hmm. And that's that feeling of moving from this flatness or numbness as a result of effectively suppressing these deeper feelings and emotions and being stuck in this numb or even fight or flight state. And then being able to come back into full presence, like the girl on the surfing wave, and to really experience that. And for me, that's it's not about, having a crazy party or climbing a big mountain or experiencing a big win. Like, of course, those are pivotal moments, but it's in the enjoyment of every minute that we're alive. And there's so many of those moments available every day if we can just open our field of awareness to them. Yeah.
And I liked what you said the other day about that just because we can avoid emotions or don't feel them doesn't mean we don't have them. Like many guys, I was just talking about me crying, it's already like for many men especially always been told, hey, don't cry. And again, doesn't mean that I'm doing this in my everyday life now, but I'm also human, and be that sadness or tears or anger, which was also one, no, I'm not an angry person is what I always said. I wasn't angry in many years. But what I did was I learned that it's not okay to be angry, so I pushed it away. And then in some of the sessions it came out, and I felt this rage and felt amazing to let it out. So all humans have all emotions within ourselves. Doesn't matter if we're trying to avoid it or if we think, oh no, I'm not like that.
Yeah.
It's there, and if you find an outlet to feel them in the right moment, this is really good for everybody. And many people want to do that when they're alone. And
Yeah.
it's probably the best also not doing it in a public place.
Totally.
But just the access to it changes everything.
Yeah, totally. So if you're someone that's listening to this and saying, yep, I can definitely resonate with this, I definitely feel flat, a bit numb, and I'm not an angry person, and I haven't cried in 20 years, and these kind of things, the first thing I'd say is don't worry. There's hope. You kind of have two options, really. Well, yeah, basically two options. So option A is basically you can just basically numb out and just avoid, and ultimately they're going to sit there, and these emotions that want to be felt, that haven't been felt, that are causing this feeling of flatness, will continue to basically be like these dark sunglasses that are affecting your perception of the world and how you experience every moment. That, yes, maybe you don't cry at a funeral, but you also don't laugh at the birthday,
Yeah.
And then option two is you can choose to open the box and to like dip your toe in and feel some of that, and just doing that in a way that, so this is another important thing, because some people decide, okay, I want to, see what's deeper, I want to feel some emotions. So they go straight for the psychedelics route, which can kind of be like blowing the barn door off. And some people can find that it is very hard to integrate after, where they are breaking down all the time and they've lost that ability to really contain. So I think, well, I've found anyway that connected breathwork is a great way to open that box intentionally. It's like knocking on the door. You can choose to let it in, but you don't, like, I think you would probably agree that session number 15, crying, you probably wanted to cry for many sessions before that, but there was maybe already resistance, but it was a conscious choice to do it instead of it just happening and losing control, which I think a lot of people are scared of. So recognizing that doing it in this way means that you maintain autonomy and control, and you move at a pace that feels comfortable for you. So you only actually feel anger or cry when you really, really want to.
Yeah, totally. I think there's still an element for many people. I have one client I'm going to visit in Sweden who has a lot of struggles from his past. A lot of really challenging things happened to him, and it's impacting his life massively every single day, really limiting him the way he lives. He wants to travel, his brain wants to travel, but he's afraid. His body gives him a physical reaction even when he thinks about booking a flight. Yeah. And he's basically trapped. And we talked about psychedelics years ago before I really knew breathwork, and he wanted to do it, but he couldn't bring himself to do it because he was too afraid to go to a very dark place where he loses all control. And then now when we talked about how breathwork works, where you can feel them, but you still kind of are here, you have to control, and you're still going to feel safe. This was like the thing that got him and said, hey, this is maybe exactly what I was looking for. So for somebody like that, I think it's the perfect tool.
Totally. So if you're someone who, as I said, has been listening to this, the choice is yours, but we, of course, highly recommend opening the box, leaning in, and deciding to feel so that you can begin to, experience the full spectrum of life and your emotions and all of the colors once more.
Totally agree.